What's up guys, Tamarakshan here. The Mi 11 Ultra. Well, this is a top spec phone available right now whose pricing is not in the ultra premium territory. And for the price this phone is selling in India, which is approximately 70,000 Indian rupees, it's still a solid option. Well, it's been 4 months since the phone has been launched, and after this long, it's holding great in almost every manner, and that's the main thing to highlight about the Mi 11 Ultra. But that said, it's not a totally perfect phone, and actually there isn't any such devices. And here with the Mi 11 Ultra, if your priorities are the positives of this phone, well then you'll love this phone. And for the segment this phone is selling, its strong points or the pros are the camera, display, build quality, and also the battery side. And its weakness or the cons are the design, its form factor, and also the software. Now this is just a briefing, and actually if we dig deep in and take a look at the main hype, which is the camera system, well, in the segment, it's a solid camera package. There are only usable cameras on the phone, and here some of the available cameras are really impressive for the segment. And if we firstly focus with the main camera, well, it's a 50 megapixel wide angle one which has an aperture of f1.95, and it is an optically stable sensor, which is also neat. But here the main highlight is that the sensor size is big, which technically means that you must be able to capture better shots at night. And here the results are great, and also the color science is more of a contrasty one. And overall, I do like the pictures that this sensor captures in almost any lighting situation. But then here a key thing to notice that this 50 megapixel camera has a lot of fringing effect, and hence the subject is overall deeply in focus with a standout background blur, which to be frank is cool, but then here the focusing area does suffer. So if you're capturing a subject, there is possibility of the subject being not fully focused. Well, for a landscape scenario shot, there isn't any such issue, and hence such photos are extremely good, but for a subject, at times it's like a hit and miss. So if you're into such kind of photos, well then you might not be a fan of this main camera. But other than that, the photos are pretty neat. And that's the same with the ultra-wide camera, which is a 48 megapixel one, and its aperture is f2.2, and here this camera's main striking point is that the field of view is 128 degree. And the ultra-wide shots in a proper lit condition is actually good, and since the field of view is really large, you can bring in a greater view, and hence that's a plus point. And overall, this sensor is a good one if it's used in a condition where there is plenty of light. And about the last sensor, well, that's the best of the group. It's a 48 megapixel telephoto camera which has 5x optical zoom capability, and you can go up to 120x with digital zoom. Now this 120x zoom is totally not usable, and to be frank, it's just for marketing, but the 5x, 10x, and even up to 20x, the photos look sharp. Now 5x zoom is the best range because in such a setting, the photos retain plenty of details and the colors matches well with the other two sensors, and here the range is pretty fast, so that's a big advantage, and actually the other further options are just added bonuses. And overall, these three cameras are doing their job in a very good manner, which makes this camera system solid for capturing photos, and actually the video recording capability of this phone is also really impressive. Now all the three cameras can record 8K at 24 FPS videos, but I don't prefer to go into 8K format, and hence I did always record only up to 4K at 60 FPS, and with those settings, I totally loved the output. Videos are very stable with sharp contrasty look, and also there wasn't much of focusing on exposure shifting issues. So with the rear camera, things should conclude here, but with this phone, a unique thing is present close to the back camera system, and that's this display. Now this rear display or the viewfinder display is a 1.1 inch AMOLED display, which is not a very sharp one, and it's the reason why this massive camera protrusion is extended full stretch. And to be frank, I'm not very much liking this massive camera module design, even though it's unique, because basically I didn't find much of use with the viewfinder display. Well, it can be used as a viewfinder and you can take selfies with the back cameras, but that's not something I'm very much into, so technically I didn't use this display that much. But if you want, you can set this rear display to show time and notifications, or maybe you can display a graphic or a text, but then if you want to make use of this display, well, you'll have to lay the phone screen down, which I usually don't prefer. And hence, other than making this camera module a full stretched one, which in turn creates an angle and also prevents the rocking effect while keeping the phone near table, I didn't find much of use with the back display. And now while moving to the front camera, well, it's a 20 megapixel one, and this selfie camera punched into the display is a good one too. It does capture sharp, not much processed selfies if it's taken outdoors with a lot of light available, and selfies in such conditions are the best this camera can capture. And while moving indoors, well, the selfies still look good, but then the processing and smoothing effect does creep in a lot. But then about the front camera videos, well, the max resolution supported is 1080p at 60 FPS, and the videos in such a setting are really good. There isn't much of a stabilization issue, and overall the subject does stay in focus, and even the colors are punchy. So if you want to do a bit of vlogging, it's to an extent possible with this front camera. So overall, this entire camera package is holding well for the segment. But here one key thing to notice that even after all the updates, the issues that were present from the beginning is still there. And an example for that is the slow shutter animation. It does take a 1 second delay for the shutter animation to get completed, and that's something that might frustrate you if you're trying to take photos at a quicker pace. So that's the camera in the Mi 11 Ultra, and that's the main hyped factor of this phone. But here on top of this, there are plenty more great stuff like this display. It's an excellent quality panel which does make content consumption immersive. This display is a 6.81-inch AMOLED Quad HD panel which has 120Hz refresh rate, and it also has a peak brightness up to 1700 nits. Now for typical content, the peak brightness level is up to 900 nits, which is even great, and overall this display is also a strong point for this phone. It's not a flat panel, but still there wasn't much issue with touch rejection, and also while we are viewing contents in a straight angle, the glare issue was not much of a concern too. And overall for content consumption, this display stays neck on neck with other flagships, and here you can actually turn on both Quad HD and 120Hz refresh rate setting together, which is just awesome. And here to support the display for media and gaming experience, well, the speaker system used in this phone is also really good. It's a dual speaker setup, and these speakers, they do get very loud, and also the quality is maintained even at 100% volume, and hence the omission of headphone jack was not an issue. And by the way, if you want to connect a Bluetooth headphone, the Bluetooth version 5.2 does provide issue-free connectivity. Well, on top of all this, the Mi 11 Ultra is also a champ in the performance department too. Now this is something to be expected because of the top specifications, which is the Snapdragon 888 processor, 12GB of LPDDR5 RAM, and 256GB non-expandable UFS 3.1 storage. With these internals and a 120Hz display, well, there wasn't any instances where the phone throttled or slowed down, and overall for casual or heavy usage, the Mi 11 Ultra won't disappoint you. Now even with the heat generated, it's not like overheating, so you don't have to worry about it too. And you're an area that was a surprise for me is the battery side. Well, with such powerful stuff, I was expecting a low screen on time even though the battery is a 5000 mAh one, and here to my surprise, the screen on time I was getting was really good. It was approximately in the 5 to 5.5 hour range with all the settings set to their max state, and hence I don't have any complaints with the battery backup. And also when the battery drops to low, the included charger can top it up to 100% from 0% in approximately 49 minutes. And also if you're into wireless charging, the phone does support fast wireless charging, which is a great thing too. So that's all neat, but like I said in the beginning, there are drawbacks for this phone, and the main drawback is this form factor and the design. Right from day one till now, I don't like the heft of this phone and also this design format. The camera protrusion is a resting area for the finger, but still I wish they would have opted for a bit more smaller module. Because here, since the majority of the internals are packed over here, this phone does feel top heavy. And also it's not at all a one-handed phone, and even the 234 gram weight is very evident, and this phone is not that good for an extended period of usage. Now this weight factor being on the high side is because of the ceramic back, and here based on the build quality and the aging factor, well, this phone has been doing great. The back portion is totally scratch free, and that's applicable even to this camera module, and here the frame, which is aluminium, is staying clean, and similarly the front Gorilla Glass Victus is also holding fine. Now about the build, this phone is built like a tank with no flexing issues or gap, and yet these buttons, they are of excellent quality. And similarly, I do like the haptic feedback system, and also if you're thinking about the IP rating, well, the Mi 11 Ultra is IP68 rated. But then like this form factor, another thing that I wished was a bit different is the software. Well, the present Android version is Android 11 and the skin is MIUI 12.5, and to be frank, I'm not a fan of this UI. It's not because of the stock Android thing, but instead it's because of the bloatwares and ads, and also because of the unnecessary permission request. I do feel these stuff must change with every phones, and here this software side is where OnePlus and Samsung has a big upper hand. But then about the 5G part, well, this phone can be termed as a proper 5G phone because there is almost 13 5G bands supported, and here the Wi-Fi version is Wi-Fi 6E, and also all sensors are present, which is a great thing. And by the way, since we talked about the sensors, well, this phone's unlocking method is fingerprint unlock, and it's an in-display fingerprint scanner, and its accuracy is great, but about the speed, it's just fine. And lastly about the earpiece, well, it's a good one, and hence the calling experience is not complainable. And I guess that's everything about the Mi 11 Ultra. And right now, which is like 4 months after this phone's launch, it has aged well, but here the buying decision should totally depend on what you're looking for. If performance, display, camera, build quality and battery is your core priority, well then you will totally love this phone. But if form factor matters and also you prefer a clean bloatware-free software, well then this one is a phone to skip. And right now, since we are about to get the new Samsung phones, probably the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra should get a price drop, and that phone is actually the direct competitor to this one. And to me, I did like the S21 Ultra more than the Mi 11 Ultra, and if the pricing of the S21 Ultra drops to this range, well then that's the phone I'll surely pick. That's all for this video, guys. Hope you liked it. So a like is much appreciated, and also please don't forget to subscribe to the channel because it does help our channel a lot, and also you won't miss our future contents. See you again in the next one. Till then, bye.